everyone, welcome to the final episode of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. So this week is we'll get started with a movie we did last year, but now we're gonna do it, we're gonna kind of do it again because the first time you watched Freddy vs. Jason, Santino, you didn't even really, you knew of Freddy Krueger, but you hadn't seen a single film. You'd only seen everything from Jason's point of view. So now that you know Freddy, let's talk a little. Let's talk. Just not even. We don't even have to do Freddy versus Jason for very long, but just so. Does knowing Freddy's backstory now kind of bolster his side of the movie now?
Not really. I mean, I always saw this is something I think I talked about last time. Freddy versus Jason is more of a Jason movie than a Freddy movie, to be honest. I mean, Freddy's in it.
Without Freddy, it never would have started, though.
Yes, I agree. And
now it makes sense how he got to hell, right?
Yeah. Now it makes sense. But now I'm more like, okay, yeah. Now Freddy's cooler. He's definitely cooler now because how do I put this? He doesn't he's not really this enemy that I don't know anything about. Now he's now I know your backstory. He's definitely a really cooler character, which I think is awesome because now it's nice seeing a movie from a different perspective.
Because it's funny, the very first time I'd ever watched Freddy vs. Jason, I was in the same boat as you. I hadn't seen a full Nightmare on Elm Street movie yet.
Nice. It's kind of honestly okay, it's the same way how you saw Mission Impossible Fallout first and you liked it, but after seeing all 5, you have a better appreciation of Fallout. It's the same with me. It's now after seeing all Nightmare on Elm Street movies, now I can say oh, okay, now I have a better appreciation of Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah, and now it's that opening scene where they show a bunch of a montage of all the kills. You're now you can point at each one and go, I know exactly what movie every single one of those is from.
Yeah, now I can do that. Because it's really fun now today. Oh, I see where you guys are doing.
Yeah, and it just adds some more fun to it. It's Freddy versus Jason, there's you're gonna love this. I've actually heard people say that Freddy versus Jason is scary. I'm what?
It's not.
No, it isn't. I'm what are you talking about?
It's a very fun these guys were doing it for fun because Robert Englund was done with Freddy at this point. He really was.
Well, he did New Nightmare, and he's I'm finished with Freddy. I buried Freddy. Freddy's done. And then it's a decade later, they're Freddy versus Jason, and it's ugh. So for him, he probably didn't even care. He was who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's more of it was more of just something for the fans, something for the 80s horror fans. Which
it was the fans who they just wanted to see Freddy and Jason fight. And you know what? I've also seen people say that this movie's pointless, it shouldn't even exist. And I'm fuck off. It's fun. Who cares?
Well, it was for the fans,
It's if they suddenly made a Transformers versus G.I. Joe film. We're not going to take it serious, but it would be fun as hell to watch that.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's not meant to be serious. Like Godzilla versus Kong. I mean, it's clearly for the fans. It's not supposed to be this highbrow masterpiece.
Exactly. It was just a fun monster movie, and this was just a fun horror film with 2 icons slashing their way through a town and then fighting each other. Big deal. It was fun.
Yeah, it was nothing it would be insulting if they did something with Freddy's backstory or lore or something like that. But they never did. It was more of just here's a 2-hour fun Freddy versus Jason movie.
Yeah, I mean they only kind of jacked up Jason a little bit, but that's because Paramount had owned Jason, but this was made by New Line, and they'd always owned Freddy. So it's they knew the character inside and out. I'd say they kept him pretty... If I had to place where it felt this personality of Freddy was, I'd say it was like almost the same as he was during like 3 and 4. He was nowhere near as campy as 6 or 5, but he wasn't like creepy and like eerie as hell like he was in part 1.
Right.
Because like he still had a few one-liners, but he was still like, I'd still say he was decently scary in this film. Some of the deaths he did, like the nightmare scene where he was chasing Gib through the boiler room. I mean, that was a good throwback to the older movies. It felt like.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, like it really is like it just really is fan service. I mean, like, and that's not a bad thing at all. I mean, like every at least one. I mean, like every franchise does fan service at one point because you know if you're not making it for the fans, who are you making it for? I'm looking at you, Star Wars sequels, right?
Those were not made for the fans at
Yeah,
all. Those, or like look at what's a good Bumblebee.
right.
That was so the G1 fans could finally see the G1
Yeah,
designs on the big screen, and it told a great story.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like Bumblebee, like it'd be like a really big fan service movie if it was just the G1 fan service the entire time. But it wasn't like that. You know, it was like it was very much its own story with a bit of fan service, and like it's not like it was bad fan service. Like I wanted to scream when Soundwave said "Ravage, eject."
Oh,
Like that was like perfect.
oh, I love that. I love Bumblebee. I really do. But yeah, Freddy versus Jason. I don't have much left to say. We genuinely covered almost all of it last year. So
Yeah, it was a
if you
very
want to hear more, go back and watch that. Go listen to that episode for Friday the 13th month. Now we are moving on to one of the most hated remakes ever made, and I purposely avoided asking you what you thought of it until now.
yeah,
What did you think?
it was very much just okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just like
I think the only thing I
like what
told
a
you
way to go
about it
out
that
like
I wanted to see your thoughts
like
was Rooney Mara as boring as I told you she'd be?
oh yeah, she was really bad. Okay, just for background, I've seen her in one movie before this. It was that shitty Peter Pan movie.
I would say another bad movie.
Yeah, and she wasn't good there, and she's not good here. Like, sorry, Rooney Mara. Like, you're really cute, but yeah, it's not working for me, dude. Like,
So overall,
I mean, overall, there are good stuff. Like, I like the fact that Jackie Earl Haley as, you know, Freddy Krueger, he was okay. He's no Robert Englund. I feel at that point, like Robert Englund made that character his own. Like he is Freddy in the same way, like Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. He is Iron Man. Like I feel like at that point, Robert Englund is so ingrained in my mind. But at least Jackie Haley made it his own, like his own character. But I swear, every time he was doing the voice, I was like, "You're Rorschach." That's all I can hear you, and you sound like Rorschach, dude.
yeah.
Yeah, and
When he was yelling, it sounded like Rorschach, but it's like when his voice was a little higher pitched, he was definitely creepy, I'd say.
yeah, I mean, like it was.
Like he had a creepy, scary vibe to him at least. Like I was scared of this version of Freddy again.
Yeah, it was more of like how do I put this? It was more of just like he was just he was trying to make his own thing, which is credit where credit is due. Jackie Earl Haley really is he's a good actor because he's trying to make Freddy's own thing. The problem is with the script. That's the main problem because it was just rehashing and redoing all.
It was just the first movie
It was
again.
just the first movie again. And if it's like, dude, if I wanted to watch the first movie, I would just pop in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's like just do so. Why? The only change they really made was they changed. I mean, the movie was basically, I mean, it had a few changes, but it was basically beat for beat the original.
Yeah.
But it was like the biggest issue I think I had with this movie was they tried to make it where it was like ambiguous, like, oh shit, maybe they did make a mistake and Freddy was innocent.
Yeah, yeah. I
But it's
honestly,
like they
that was very interesting.
completely pussied out and we're like, no, he was evil the whole time. And it's like, why didn't you just go all the way and
Yeah,
have
that
made
was
him
honestly,
actually evil?
that honestly would have been way better to watch. It's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like in this version, Freddy actually never did anything bad. They just made a
Like,
mistake.
he was a good person. You killed him, and now he's back getting his revenge on the parents for killing him by wiping out their kids.
Yeah,
Or omit the whole preschool thing altogether and just make it so it was like he was never a child killer. He was like something else bad, nothing to do with the kids, and the parents murdered him. And he's just a man who is coming back for revenge on the parents through the kids. They could have omitted the backstory altogether and changed it. And I think that would have made the film stronger. But it was like, by making him not even a child killer, just a full-on pedophile this time.
yeah, it was weird, weird change. Like I honestly would have respected it more, and we would have been honestly way much cooler if they made a mistake this time.
Yeah, it would have definitely made us. I mean, we still would have been able to fear this version of Freddy, but
Yeah,
we would not have had the sympathy. Like I lots of people in the horror community know that so many reimagined horror characters are made sympathetic nowadays, and they're not scary or ominous like they were back in the 80s. But by doing this, I think it's like we could have pitied him, but he's also willingly murdering these children now to get revenge on the people who killed him. So it's like we feel bad that he died, but now he's chosen to be evil and not be the bigger person. So it's like, now I don't sympathize with him anymore. I still fear him because he's got these unstoppable powers. It's
yeah,
just, this was another one where it's like they could have rebooted this and it could have been like one of the best remake reboots ever, but it's just like they stuck way too close to the original movie
yeah.
by, and it's like, oh my, I would like to know who the hell in the casting department was like, let's make Rooney Mara the main lead instead of Katie Cassidy.
Yeah, it was like
What the fuck? I get that they were going for the fake out. Like, you think Katie Cassidy is going to be the main lead, but it's like, you replaced her. Like, in the original one, Nancy had much more of a personality than Tina did. So, like, that's why that worked. But here, you kill off the only interesting character and replace her with an emo goth who mumbles her way through this whole film.
yeah.
And it doesn't help that her boyfriend was just as equally as boring as she was.
Yeah, yeah. It basically is Nightmare on Elm Street.
On Xanax.
Yeah,
Because everyone in this
like they're not interesting. It's like they just like it's just a monotone Nightmare on Elm Street. It's just like, oh, that sucks. Because like Nightmare on Elm Street is supposed to be like like that's the whole that's the whole reason why Freddy was unique, because like he had a personality. He wasn't like a silent killer like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. And now like he's just nothing.
I mean, he was at least scary.
Yeah.
And so, okay, like that scene where he killed Katie Cassidy's boyfriend,
That was cool.
when he killed Jesse in prison, like that line that he says to him, he's like, did you know your brain keeps going for like 5 minutes after your heart stops? Like, that's terrifying, being told you're dead and I'm gonna torture you until your brain shuts down. Or like, what else? Okay, something this film did that was really interesting that I thought was cool that none of the other films did was the micronaps.
The micronaps, yeah.
Like that scene when they were in the drugstore and Nancy was like falling in and out of sleep while she was in that aisleway, and it was like flashing between awake and the boiler room, awake in the boiler room. That was cool. That was a really cool idea that I thought they could have played with more. And
Yeah,
like that, Freddy saying at the end, I've purposely been trying to keep you awake. So you'll have been awake so long that when you fall asleep, you'll go into a coma and never wake up. I'm like, again, you had such another good idea,
yeah.
but it's in a film that's not that great.
I keep on saying this: good concepts, shitty execution. It's so nice to hear.
It is, because it's so many ideas where it's like, oh, this would have been cool if, like, there's so many concepts of this film that if they got, like, okay, if, let's see, if the guy who played Quentin and Nancy, if they had been the main two at the beginning who died in the first half an hour, and then Katie Cassidy as Chris and Kellen Lutz as Dean, if they'd lived and they had been the main two for the 3/4 of the film, one, they would have elevated the energy of this film instead of the two emo kids who had nothing going for them that I didn't even give a shit about. But again, Dean's death was awesome. You got to admit that right there at the beginning.
Yeah, that was cool. The where he slashed his throat and
just murders
like,
himself.
And it's a very like very gritty like slashing. Like that's cool.
And I just always love that intro too, where it's just like, she's like, Dean, and then just like, Dean, and then you hear the slash and it does the Nightmare on Elm Street theme. I was like, okay, that was a cool like intro to the title screen.
Yeah, but that's the only one. It's the only cool one.
So that the movie was just downhill after that for you.
It was very meh. I mean, like, it's basically a Nightmare on Elm Street monotone.
Which is so sad, because it's like they got some good talent in here, I thought. Like and I'll always say it, the chick they got to play Nancy's mom in this, Connie Britton, I think she's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, true.
Like, I really thought she was good looking. She was in shit, what have I seen her in?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights? What is that?
It's a really good movie. You should watch it sometime.
Okay, I will.
It's about football.
Nice.
Let's see. The way they killed Freddy was, I guess, okay. It was nothing impressive, but it was better than Freddy's Dead.
I guess so. Yeah, no say is there, because like it's just like.
I wish there was more to say. I mean, I think I've spoken my point about. I feel like we're going down the path of like Transformers: The Last Night here, where I'm struggling to find good things to say about it, but that's only because the general majority say that this movie has like no redeeming qualities. So it's like, I'm trying to point out some of the good stuff, but at the end of the day, this still is not a good film.
Oh yeah, it's not.
Like, it's got some good things here and there, but I would never say this is a great movie, because it's absolutely not a great movie.
Great movie.
They tried, but
they tried and failed.
Sadly, because that's what I'm starting to really hate. I'm starting to just hate films that like have these good ideas in them, but it's like they butcher everything else, and it's like you just wasted it, because the next time somebody tries to do this idea, they'll just say, oh, you're just copying the Nightmare remake or something. And it's like, take a little bit longer on your fucking scripts and get them right the first time.
Rehashing. Yeah, that's the biggest like problem with this. It's a rehash.
Yeah, I mean, this had the bathtub scene from the original. This had Freddy coming out of the wall. This even had the mom getting killed in the last few seconds like the original. The main character's name was Nancy and everybody else had different names. What was the point of that? So I guess, do you have anything more to say? Any ideas you think they should have thrown in to make this better?
No, I'm good, dude. I think, yeah, it's finished. It's a very
That's
like
it.
it sucks though. I mean, like I want the night. This is how the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise really goes out. You know, it's like it goes out
And
with a whimper.
and it doesn't make any sense why they haven't made another one. I genuinely don't understand why we haven't gotten another movie since this. New Line owns the property. It's
Yeah,
not like Friday the 13th where it's sitting in a legal battle right now. So it's like I don't understand why they haven't made any more. I hope they make some more.
I do hope so. Also,
I don't I just whatever they do next, just learn from your mistakes with this one. And even you know what? Even if you want to do a direct sequel to this one, go for it. Fine. Just get some different kids. You can even keep Jackie Earle Haley, but you need a better writer and a better director to be like, all right, here's what fans hated about the last one. We're going to change up some of the makeup. We're going to change up the leads. We're going to make the characters likable. We're going to go a little more creative on the dreams and give us another sequel. You know what? Just jump right to Dream Warriors. There is so, because you know this as well as I do, there is so much they could do with giving kids dream powers in their dreams.
yeah, that was
Just go right for an asylum type film where you're in an asylum, a shitload of kids, they've all got different dream powers. Why not?
Yeah,
Why not? I think that would be a great idea.
it would be.
So
So
let's rank this shit.
you go first, Chad.
All right. So you know how sometimes we say like least good to best? Well, this is definitely a worst to best.
Yeah.
All right. Very bottom. Freddy's dead.
Yeah.
Not much to say. The movie's trash. I hate that movie.
Yeah.
All right, next one, the remake. Like we just said, there's some good concepts in there, but when you fumble the ball as bad as they did on other stuff, the good concepts are not enough to save it. It's sad because there's so many elements of this that could rise it higher, but then there's so much that just pull it back down.
Yep.
The next is Freddy versus Jason. Fun time, good time, fan film. I prefer just some of the stories in the other ones. Next one is, this is where people are going to get mad, New Nightmare. It's quality. It's an interesting, creative idea. I'm sorry. I just like when Freddy has some more bodies. He has more people he's killing. And I just like, again, I just like the trilogy in the middle of this franchise.
That's fine.
Next one is Nightmare 2. Nightmare 2 used to be really low for me, but after my most recent rewatch, it's good. I don't understand what people don't like about it. It's just fun. It's just fun. It's a fun 80s slasher film with the deeper underlying tones of is Jesse gay? Is he not? What was Freddy in this movie? And it's interesting. I think it gets way more hate than it deserves.
All right.
Next is part 5, The Dream Child. Again, continuing on Alice's story. And I liked seeing Alice come back, especially because think about it. With Friday the 13th, aside from Tommy, which again, you didn't like, and I don't blame you, nobody ever really came back. And like you said it, you wanted what's her face, Tina from part 7 to keep going, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
And that's what Alice was to me. I got to see more of a character I really liked.
That's good.
And I thought it was interesting. And I liked how like that it was a loophole that got Freddy out, and then they found a way to finally like close that loophole and end him for good. And then 6 ruined it. Next is Dream Warriors. Dream Warriors is awesome. Just all the way through, but kind of like some of the ideas I was just saying, if they do a sequel to the remake, I think there's just a lot more creativity they could do if they did a remake of Dream Warriors. I think there's a lot more they could do with powers and stuff in dreams that's not just limited to, like a girl becoming a punk and a crippled kid being able to walk. and the violent kid being able to like punch through walls. I think there's much more
Yeah.
creativity there, and I think there's more they could do with it.
Yeah.
It's not to say Dream Warriors is bad. It's not. I just look at it and I'm like, it's good for what it was, but I feel there's more that could be done.
Yeah.
Next, number 2, silver medal, is the Dream Master.
Yeah.
Alice is one of my favorite scream queens ever. I loved seeing her evolution in this film, and I really enjoyed the story. And number 1 is the original. It's untopped. It's untouchable out of all of them. This isn't even like this one is the same as the original Halloween. It's leagues above the rest, in my opinion, at what it did.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what have you got, sir?
All right. So at the bottom of the very barrel is Freddy's Dead. Pointless, forgettable, nothing good at all. Really bad. I don't ever want to see this movie again.
I love whenever we hit movies where you say, I never want to see this again.
The one right after that, Remake. Again, good concepts, shit execution. And the protagonist wasn't good. I'm sorry. The one above that, Freddy versus Jason. Again,
Nice.
Enjoyable, but it's just fan service. Like it's nothing really big. The one after that, surprisingly, number 2. I didn't like it that much, and it was okay, but I feel like other films were better.
Mm-hmm.
The one after that, number 4. Again, I know you love Dream Master. I just felt like, yeah, I think there's way better progression in number 5, which is the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, better pacing, better story, better development for Alice. And the one after that, not part 3. New Nightmare. I think New Nightmare is way better than a lot of people give it credit for. And it's a perfect finale for Freddy. The one after that, Dream Warriors. Because I think it was cool. I liked how Nancy went out. And it was an awesome way to continue Freddy's story. Yeah, at the very top, number 1, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Classic. Can't beat it.
Had to be.
Yeah. That's it. So, Chad, that we're done with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But as I look at the calendar, there's one more week.
What day is that episode going to fall on, Santino?
Halloween itself. What are you doing, man?
So I figured we would close out a horror month with a nice little duo that I love. Santino has not seen him yet, and I love when he hasn't seen him. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a Halloween film, and then we're gonna do a Christmas film in the same day. So we are going to end the month with Michael Daughtry's Trick or Treat and Michael Daughtry's Krampus.
Nah.
So 2 horror films. I love them both. I actually just rewatched Krampus the other night. Oh, and it's so damn good. Krampus is so much fun. It's like a modern day Gremlins. It's amazing. It's a blast. And Trick or Treat is like right there with Halloween for like the perfect ideal film to watch on Halloween night. So
Nice.
Tune in, guys, on Halloween itself. We will be back with those 2 films. And then Santino will be telling us what we'll be doing for November.
Oh, I can't wait.
So that's it.
That's it. So happy Halloween, guys. See you soon.
And we'll see you next week.
All right.